Good morning. We are going to start today on our seat. So any comfortable seat, maybe sitting on a rolled up blanket. I'm on a block, but if you want, you can even put a towel or blanket on your block to make it a little softer. And maybe a little shimmy your shape, adjusting in your seat. And allowing the eyes to soften, or closing your eyes completely if that feels better. Bringing hands to our lap. We'll just start to pause and notice. We're going to actually come to Nadi Shodhana, or an alternate nostril breathing, in just a moment. So before we do that, we're just going to check in with the body. Relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the face and the jaw and the eyes and soft. We'll come back to this spot in just a moment, but first we're going to come to, again, alternate nostril breathing. So to do that, we'll take our right hand, and you can either, basically taking your index finger and your middle finger, take those two fingers to the pad of your thumb. And so then we're going to be using our thumb and either the ring finger or the pinky finger. So the thumb will go to the right nostril, ring finger to the left nostril. And it's up to you. Sometimes I like to take those two fingers that were bent down and just place them on the forehead, on my third eye. So you can either do that or you can bend them in. And we'll first start by taking a deep breath in and then exhaling out. And then on the next in-breath, we're going to take the ring finger to the left nostril and we'll inhale through the right nostril. So inhaling. And then closing off the right nostril, we'll exhale out the left nostril. Inhaling on that same left side. And then we'll exhale out the right. Inhaling right. Switching the fingers and then exhaling left. Inhaling left, switching and exhaling right. Inhaling right, switching and exhaling left. Inhaling left, and then switching, exhaling right. So we'll repeat that a few more times at your own pace. And then ending the next time you breathe out on the left side. And when you've completed, just allow your eyes to soften again. Or turning your gaze down towards the floor, closing the eyes completely, and just noticing the effects of that pranayama. So that breath practice is designed to help balance the mind, balances the two sides of the brain, helps to calm us and soothe our nerves. It balances the yin and the yang sides of us, the sun and the moon, the warm and the cool. Just allowing your breath to come to an easy, natural rhythm. And just being in that state of noticing. Maybe you're aware of the rhythm of your heart. Maybe there's sensation in your fingers, or you're feeling sensation somewhere else in your body. We'll take just 1 or 2 more breaths right here, with the eyes still closed or softly open. And when you're ready, allowing your eyes to flare open and your gaze to come back up. And we're going to do some movements for the neck. So first, starting by inhaling, getting taller, and then exhaling, we'll drop the chin towards the chest. Feeling the back of the neck will lengthen, letting the head be heavy. As we inhale, either looking directly ahead or maybe looking up if that feels okay to the back of the neck. Exhaling, we'll lower down. So as we go through this nodding of our head, lifting our head up and down, exploring the range of motion that feels good to you. So if it feels uncomfortable to raise your chin, then just coming parallel to the floor. And as we explore all these movements for the neck, if one of them doesn't feel good, then finding what does feel good. We're getting ready to come back to neutral. And now we're going to turn our chin side to side. So again, starting with an inhale, we'll lengthening, getting a little bit taller. And then we'll exhale, looking towards that left shoulder. And maybe even being aware of where our chin comes in relation to that shoulder. We'll inhale to center and then exhale to the other side. And just starting to come to a little bit of a flow here with your breath. Maybe pausing if you're feeling a nice stretch. And one side might feel very different from the other, and that's okay. We're just starting to explore a little bit of mobility into our cervical spine. Waking things up. And after this one to the right, we'll come back to center. Now we're going to make some little half circles. So bringing the chin back over by the left shoulder, we'll trace the chin from shoulder to shoulder. Now sometimes we'll see this where we'll be told to make full circles. And for some people that might be appropriate, but for a lot of people that can actually cause a little kinking into the neck, and it can feel really uncomfortable, and it can pinch things that we don't want to pinch. So it's much safer to stay in a little half circle. And you can move here more slowly than me if that feels good. You could go quicker, but I'd be really cautious about going too quickly when it comes to the neck. And being aware of where you feel sensation. This might feel really good into the back of the neck. Or if not, then returning to one of the other movements. We're coming back to center. Now we're just going to shrug the shoulders up. Shrug them up, exhaling them back and down. Shrug up, on an inhale, exhale down. We'll do one more. Letting the shoulders come all the way up and then exhaling them down. We'll do just one more for the neck. So this time taking the chin towards the knee. So knee and chin are roughly parallel. And then letting our chin come towards the chest. So you might feel this into the back of the neck, upper back on the right side. And if you'd like, taking the left hand to the back of the head, just applying a little bit of weight, a little bit of pressure. We're not pulling, we're not forcing the head down, but we're getting deep into the side of the neck, the side and the back. And you might even pretend that the back of your head and your hand are magnetized, so they're pushing into each other now. And that might add to that stretch a little bit, add to that sensation. Come out of it, we'll just release the hand, bringing fingertips to that left cheek, and we're going to use the fingertips, not the muscles of the neck, to lift our head up. I love that one. So we'll do the other side now. So chin comes towards the right knee, same direction as the right knee. Now we'll just drop the chin towards the chest. If that's enough, you can stay there, or you can take that right hand to the back of the head. And if it feels good, you can push the head into the hand, enhancing that stretch. So these muscles can get really tight from looking at our phones. They actually call this text neck when you have that sensation. So we're trying to undo any text neck you might have. And then slowly releasing the hand, keeping the head where it is, and we use the fingertips to lift our head back up. Better already. So if there's another movement you'd like to do for your neck before we move on, please feel free to do so. And then we'll get off of our blocks. So while I get off of my block, if you'd like to adjust your neck a little bit more, maybe go side to side, you can do that. Or bringing hands behind our glutes, feet are flat on the floor, and we'll take some gentle windshield wipers. So super slow motion on our windshield wipers, waking up our hips a little bit. So especially after sitting for a few moments, that might feel really good. You can experiment, maybe take your feet a little bit wider apart. Notice which side might feel a little more in need of the stretch. Which one says, hey, that feels really good. And then we're going to get ready to make our way on to hands and knees. So shifting our body, we'll come into tabletop pose. Placing hands directly underneath shoulders, knees are under hips, and just a little bit of a tail wag here. So first, waking up those hips a little bit more, wagging your tail side to side, and then if you'd like, maybe making some little tail or little hip circles. I guess we could call them tail circles. Going in one direction, and we'll start small, but if you'd like, maybe making your circles a little bigger. And then we'll reverse that, again, starting small. And as we circle, being aware of your abdominals, so making sure that they're not sagging to the floor. So keeping a neutral spine. And then coming into our Chakravartasana, we'll come to cat and cow. So inhaling. Cow pose, finding that length and just allowing the spine to lengthen. So we're focusing on our cervical spine, and now we're getting into the rest of the spine. So really being aware of each of the vertebrae as we move through these poses, coming into cat pose, and thinking about moving one vertebra at a time. So articulating the spine all the way up into those cervical vertebrae that we were focusing on to start. And maybe being aware of another part of the spine as we move, so maybe your lower back or mid back, upper back is speaking to you a little bit more, saying, hey, that feels really good, or I need that stretch. And as we go through this, imagining where we can create just a little bit more space between the vertebrae. So can you eke out just a micro-inch more space between each of the vertebrae? Countering gravity. Gravity tries to compress our spine, but can we do the opposite? Can we lengthen and expand? From here, we're going to bring big toes to touch, and we're going to sneak our hips into child's pose. For this first child's pose, maybe bringing hands back towards the feet, letting the forehead rest. You could place something soft underneath your forehead, or just letting the forehead come to the ground, inviting heels or hips to come to heels. Remembering you can pad your knees, or you can place a padding or something in between the calves and the thighs. Always making your yoga pose, your practice, fit your body. It's never, ever about what it looks like. It's always about how it feels to you. Breathing into the space around the sacrum. And you create a little more space there now. You breathe into that and get a sense of expansion. And exhaling, letting go. Letting go of expectations and judgments. Coming back into a tabletop. We're going to create a little bit of a flow here. So inhaling for cow pose. We're going to exhale the root cat, rounding the spine, come to child's pose. As we next inhale, coming forward to cow pose, we'll tuck the toes under and lifting into our first downward facing dog. So since this is our first one, we'll stay here for a moment or two before moving on to that flow that we're creating. You might want to pedal out your feet, bending one knee and then the other. Say good morning to the backs of your legs. Letting both heels reach towards the earth. Yes. Hips are high, letting our gaze come towards the feet. Creating Mula Bandha as we lift in and up through the pelvic floor. Exhaling, bringing knees down to the floor, uncurling the toes. We'll come into child's pose. Inhaling forward to cow pose. Exhaling, rounding through the spine to child's pose. Inhaling forward, scooping the heart forward for cow. Tucking the toes, we'll lift into downward facing dog. Moving on at your own pace here. So you can move more quickly or you can move a little more slowly, savoring the flow. Connecting your breath to your movements. So not needing to move at the same rate that I am. And maybe even adding in, so if there's a pose that you feel your body's asking for, that you feel fits into the flow, then adding it. Or if you'd like to stay a little longer in one of the positions, one of the poses. Always honoring what your body needs in the moment. So there's no right or wrong. And as we move on through our practice today, if we have an opportunity for a vinyasa, and actually not even just today, any day, if there's an opportunity for vinyasa, as we move through our sun salutation, this could be an opportunity, or this could be your option for vinyasa. So a lot of times we think about going child's pose to plank or kneeling plank, and then maybe cobra pose or upward facing dog. You can substitute this. So we'll do just one or two more rounds. Getting in child's pose when you're ready. Not rushing to get there. But when we do get in child's pose, pausing to notice. Observing what's happening in the body. What does it feel like to be in your body today? How do you feel after doing that flow? Breathing into any parts of the body that need it the most right now. When you're ready, we'll extend the arms forward, crawling those fingertips to the top edge of the mat, and we'll lift into another downward facing dog. Again, creating that Mula Bandha, lifting in and up to the pelvic floor.
And as we exhale, drawing in the belly, creating Uddiyana Bandha. Drawing that navel in and up. And then on the next in-breath, we'll look forward, look into the hands. As we exhale, walking our feet to the hands, coming into forward fold at the top of the mat. Swaying like a rag doll. If you'd like, we can come to gorilla pose here. Lifting one foot and placing the hand underneath it with the palm touching the bottom of the foot. Finger or toes are active, reach the wrist crease. I'll do the other side. So to do this, you might want to bend your knees a little bit more. Knees can be bent as much as you'd like. If that feels uncomfortable, you can come to a regular forward fold with hands on blocks or on the shins. We're creating some openness into the back of the body. You might feel this into the hamstrings, the calves, or maybe even the lower back, and breathing into those places. Maybe giving your toes a little wiggle if they're on your hand. Noticing you're getting a little bit of kind of a foot massage, a little bit of reflexology here. The hands touch, the fingertips touch different parts of the feet. They all have correlation to different parts of the body. Very carefully, we'll release one hand and then the other hand, bending the knees a little bit more, letting the belly rest on the legs. And as we inhale, coming up, we'll pause in chair pose. Exhaling forward, back into that forward fold. This time we're going to inhale, sweeping the arms out and up. Exhaling, hands come to heart center. Now you can stay just where you are, but I'm going to turn to face you. And we're going to flow through chair a few times. So again, feet are about hip distance apart. Take the breath in as we sweep the arms up. And then exhaling, hands come through the heart as we sit into chair. Lifting through the heart, lifting the chest. So remember, if we're looking down at the floor, maybe sitting up a little bit higher. And we'll inhale to stand. Exhaling, coming back into your chair. Letting the weight come towards the heels. Maybe placing hands on the thighs. Inhaling, rising. As we continue here, a few rounds of chair. Being a little bit creative with our arms, whatever feels good. And as you rise and lower, can you keep that connection with your feet and the earth, noticing the earth pushing you or helping you lift, rising. So the earth is giving you a little boost there as you rise tall, rooting to rise tall. Keeping awareness around the core as well. So keeping that connection to the core as we sit back in the chair, navel's drawing in and up, just like when we were in downward facing dog. And now keeping that navel drawing in and up. There's a lot going on here. And that's why they sometimes call this fierce pose. So we just one more chair. Inhaling, rising, coming back into mountain Tadasana. So setting our gaze out over the tips of the fingers. Inhaling, sweeping up, letting our gaze come up. Maybe finding a little bit of a back end here, if that's available to you this morning. Exhaling, sweeping out, letting the spine be long. So almost like we're coming into airplane pose here as we slow motion swan dive, forward fold, letting the crown of the head reach towards the earth, deep bend in your knees. And then as we inhale, rising halfway, monkey pose. Hands could come to the shins, maybe even the thighs, or if you'd like, placing your hands on blocks. The goal here is to lengthen the spine. So we're lengthening the backs of the legs, we're lengthening the spine, almost as if our spine were like a bungee cord. And then as we exhale, mounting the front of the body back down. Hands come to the floor. And we'll step the left foot back, lowering the knee down to the ground, coming into low lunge. Keeping the knee and the ankle safely in alignment with each other. And then we'll step that right foot back to meet the left. And here's your opportunity for vinyasa. So you can do a more standard vinyasa, or you can do what we were just exploring, your choice. No right or wrong. And then we'll meet in child's pose. On our next in-breath, we'll step that right foot forward. Oops, maybe we needed to step the left foot forward. So we'll step the left foot forward. That way we can do both sides. Now this time, the left knee is over the ankle, and we're feeling that opening into the pelvis on that side. Maybe it feels a little different. We're going to tuck those back toes under, and we're going to step into forward fold. Inhaling halfway, finding that monkey pose once again, letting our gaze stay down towards the ground. So if we're looking forward, we're arching our neck, and we really want to protect our neck. So we're going to keep our chin drawing in, gaze down to the floor, and then exhaling, hands come to the ground, rooting those feet into the earth as we bend the knees, reverse swan dive, exhaling, finding chair. Inhaling, sweeping the arms to the sky as we exhale, hinging out the hips, forward fold, swan dive. Inhaling halfway, exhaling, hands come to the floor. This time we're going to step the right foot back, lowering the knee down to the ground. And we can stay here with hands on the floor, or you can use your blocks. We can walk our hands up this time. Choosing an arm option. So you might have hands at prayer, or you can have arms and chest lifted. Lifting the heart, lifting the arms. Exhaling, hands come to the ground. And then we'll step that left foot back. Finding your child's pose. Again, you can stay still, or you can add in your vinyasa. Forehead comes to the ground, and possibly you might be doing your own flow. If you're with me, you might be doing a baby cobra pose. But whatever option you're choosing, we'll meet again in child's pose. This time we'll step the right foot forward, coming into any variation of your lunge. So this time I'm going to choose cactus arms, drawing shoulder blades in towards the spine, getting an opening for the chest, and then exhaling, hands come to the ground, tucking the back toes under, and then stepping into forward fold. Inhaling halfway, exhaling, lowering back down. And just observing those changes in how your spine feels when you move to that. We'll inhale, sweeping up, exhaling into chair. Adding on to our sun salutations. Exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling, lengthening the spine. Exhaling, rounding the spine. So this time we're going to step the left foot back. You can keep your knee lifted this time, or if you'd like to lower it to the ground like we started, you could do that. Hands could come to blocks. If you're in a runner's lunge like I am, really pushing that rear heel towards the wall and straightening that leg as best as you can. Think about drawing inner thighs towards one another, almost like you're scissoring the legs. That's going to help with stability. And again, hands on blocks will help with stability too. And then maybe if you like rising, but that's not necessary, just finding what feels good here. Exhaling, we'll bring hands back down maybe keeping hands on blocks. That could be an interesting thing. We could try that. Coming into downward facing dog with hands on the blocks. Some people really like that. I feel a little more grounded with hands on the floor. So you can keep your hands on your blocks or on the floor. Option to come to child's pose. Stay here or any variation of your vinyasa. We'll meet back in child's pose or down dog. And then as you're ready, we'll step that left foot back to the top of the mat. So we're in a lunge of your choice. Setting the gaze, and we'll relax the shoulders, relax the eyes here. It's really easy to get intense when we're in our lunges, letting our gaze soften. Exhaling, hands come forward. If we're on our back knee, we'll tuck the toes under to lift, and then we'll step into forward fold. Inhaling, lengthening the spine. Exhaling, releasing the spine. Softening the knees as we inhale, rising, extended mountain pose. Exhaling, finding chair. Still keeping that strong core. So being really aware that that navel's drawing in. So rather than collapsing, we're lifting. Inhaling up. So we're going to do one more round of sun salutation. So we'll do that other side. Sweeping the arms up. Exhaling, folding forward. Inhaling, lengthening spine, drawing the shoulders away from the ears. Exhaling, everything melts. This time we'll step the right foot back. So again, your option, or whatever lunge feels good to you on this side. Lunge can be a little bit of a balance challenge sometimes. Exhaling, hands come to the floor. Stepping back. You know the drill. It's stillness or movement. So vinyasa, or you can hang out in the choice of downward facing dog or child's pose. And then we'll meet in either one of those. Getting ready to step the right foot forward. Then stepping it to the hand. Coming to lunge. So maybe for this one, I was going to do cactus arms. I think I'm going to make my cape. So extending the arms behind, different opening for the chest. And then exhaling, hands come to frame that front foot. And we'll step into forward fold. Inhale to rise. Exhale to release. Sweeping up, reverse swan dive. Exhaling, coming into chair pose. Coming up into mountain, bringing arms down alongside the body. Maybe even giving those shoulders a little bit of a roll. Softening the eyes, or you can close them if that feels better. And we'll shift our awareness inward. Taking a breath or two as we notice. How does the body feel any different than when we first started the practice? And maybe after some of that movement, you feel pulsation, or maybe you notice the tingling in the fingers or the legs, just the blood moving through the body. Inhale, we'll sweep the arms up. Exhaling, hands come to the heart center. We're going to take a big step back with the right foot coming into warrior one. Inhaling those arms into traditional warrior arms. And then exhaling, we're going to open into warrior two. Maybe stepping that rear foot back a little bit. Peeking down, making sure we can still see the big toe inside the knee. So the knee's tracking towards the second and third toes. And if not, we can give it a little bit of help. You can always help that leg. We'll put that front palm to the sky. Inhale, coming to reverse warrior. Getting longer and taller, creating space through the ribs. So again, can you imagine just a micro-inch more space between the ribs? That can be really beneficial for our breathing. We're working on some of the breathing muscles. Exhaling, coming back into our warrior two. From here, we're going to add in a little bit of movement. So we're going to inhale, sweeping arms up. Exhaling, coming back into warrior two. Inhaling. And then exhaling. One more time like that. Inhaling. And then exhaling. Coming back into a warrior two. Getting ready to come into triangle pose. So as we inhale, we'll lengthen that front leg. Setting our gaze as we exhale. And then on the next in-breath, almost as if you're being pulled forward by that front arm as far as you can go, and then letting that hand come to where it comfortably rests. So that could be the shin, it could be the thigh. You might want to use your block. And this is really about the core. So it's not about reaching the floor. We're thinking about making the back of the body so straight we could be up against a wall. That back hand can either be on the hip, the waist, or you can choose to lift that arm. And you can either look up or look down. So again, I mentioned this is about the core. So you could actually remove that bottom arm and still stay where you are. If you collapse here, then maybe coming up a little bit higher so you can have a little more strength. So it's never about reaching the floor. Come out of this little inhale and we'll bend that front knee, making our way back into warrior two. We'll cartwheel the arms, coming into runner's lunge, stepping back into downward facing dog. We'll walk the feet up to the hands, forward fold, inhale. So we're getting ready to do the other side. You can stay where you are. I'm flipping just so I can face you. Hands come to the heart. We'll step back with that left foot. First finding warrior one. Inhaling. And then we'll exhale. And we'll open into warrior two. So again, first finding your strength here in this pose. Reaching the arms. We'll flip that front palm to the sky, inhaling, sweeping to lift into warrior two. Getting long on that right side of the body. And then coming back into warrior two, we'll add that little bit of movement. Inhaling, sweeping arms up. Exhaling, finding your proud warrior. One more time, just like that. Setting up for our triangle pose. We'll lengthen that front leg. And then on the next in-breath, reaching forward as if you're being pulled forward. And then hand just rests wherever it comfortably goes. And maybe for today, maybe we'll all come up just a tiny bit higher. Remember, if that's uncomfortable, keeping that top arm lifted. If you have any shoulder issues you're caring for, bring the hand to the lower back. And then you carry for your neck, looking down to the floor. Always finding a place that feels good in your body. You want to feel like you're doing something, but you never want to push yourself past the point of creating any type of pain or hurting yourself. Inhaling as we come out of this. One last warrior two. We'll cartwheel those arms, coming into runner's lunge. And this time, stepping back first into down dog, and then into child's pose. finding any variation of child as you just check in. So we've just done a lot of work. So noticing how your body is responding to that. Noticing how any sensations might have changed in your body, how the breath might have changed. Taking one more breath here. And then we'll lift into downward facing dog once again, checking the toes. This time walking hands back to meet the feet. Inhaling the first swan dive. Exhaling, hands to the heart. So today we're going to do a little bit of tightrope walk for our balance. So this can be sometimes trickier than it can seem. And remember, we always have the option of closing our eyes if it feels too easy. So what we're going to do first is just walk one foot in front of the other. So heel to toe, imagining that we have maybe a balance beam or a tightrope to walk. And remember, if this is easy, we can always close the eyes. But be really careful if you do choose to close the eyes. And you might be like, okay, no brainer, this is pretty easy. But now we're going to reverse it. Now walking one foot behind the other. And if you're looking down, you don't want to close your eyes. The other option is to look away from your feet, maybe looking straight ahead. And then we'll come back to rest there. So now after having done our little tightrope walk, we'll step the right foot forward. Come up onto the left toes. And just take a little bit of, this is a small variation of Warrior 3. So Warrior 3, this is called airplane pose. You can take arms out, or we can bring hands to the heart, and then maybe start to hinge forward to any degree. Remember, if this is too much, I'll show you where we can hang out. We could be right here, where we started with that kickstand, or we can have that hinge. Hands can be at heart center, they could be out to the side, they could be forward, and they could be back. So lots of different options for hands here. Toes are pointing down towards the floor if we're lifted. Heels pushing towards the back wall. Or actually, we're kind of lowered. But if we're more into this Warrior 3, we'll come up. Now, another option that we have is to have our blocks. So if you'd like, I'll show you the blocks next time. So this time, we have the left foot forward, and feet can be close to the blocks, coming up onto the rear toes. So we could stay here for our one variation of Warrior 3 and play with that kickstand. If it feels uncomfortable having the arms lifted, keep hands at the heart. Or we can start to take that hinge forward, and if you have your blocks, then you can have hands on the blocks. Another option would be to place hands on a chair or to a wall, and you can be up a little bit higher. So lots of options, lots of variations for Warrior 3. Breathing, noticing that if you're holding your breath, maybe gone too far, and just back out a tiny bit, find a different variation. And then we'll come on out of that. So we'll send the blocks off to the side, a little bit of counter movement after doing those poses. So whenever we do balance, especially when we do one-legged balance, we really get a lot of strength into the hip and thigh, the hip and glute on that standing leg. So whichever leg that you just did last, or maybe even both of them, might be talking to you a little bit. So circles are nice, maybe a little bit of twist. That's fine. And we'll come into one last mountain pose at the top of the mat. circling the shoulders and letting the shoulders walk down the back of the body towards your back pockets. And feeling a little bit of a natural lift in the chest and heart when we do that. The chin is subtly dipped towards the chest. So rather than jutting the chin out, we want to draw that chin in towards the chest, back of the neck is long. Keeping the arms overhead as we breathe in, and then as we breathe out, forward fold. Into hands and knees, and we'll make our way on to our bottoms. So we're going to do a little bit of a twist here. And anytime we sit on the ground, I always recommend sitting up on something to protect the lower back. So what happens is if we are sitting with our hips higher than our knees, we kind of round and we create that compression in the lumbar spine, which is something we don't want. So especially if you have any lower back pain, this is a great thing to do sitting up on a block or a pillow or a cushion. So you might start out with the legs just regular crisscross the way I am, or you can take the right foot towards the left hip. Then that left foot can stay in the front or it can cross over. And you might need to adjust your support if you're on something, if you're trying to do this like I am. So I'm almost falling over there. And we'll sit up nice and tall. And as we get ready to twist, the right hand can stay around the knee. You might want to take a hug with the forearm, or you can bring the elbow inside the knee. But it's not about, we're not trying to torque or force anything. So just a gentle hold with the hand or the arm. And then as we exhale, we'll twist to the left side. So that left hand can come behind the body. So if you have another block, you can put it behind you, put your block there, put your hand on the block, and we'll turn to that left side. Breathing. You want to allow the breath to massage the abdominal organs. So it's massaging the organs of digestion when we do this. We're getting a nice wringing out of those organs when we twist. So the combination of twisting and breathing is great for digestion. And if you, again, notice you're holding your breath or your breath is a little labored, you can use the breath or so. On the in-breath, you might come out a little bit. And then on the out-breath, you could revisit your twist. One more breath here. And we'll come back to face the front. And we'll come back into our cross-legged position. And we're going to do the other side. Now, if you're sitting with a regular crisscross, regular cross legs, then putting the other leg in front, or we'll take the left foot towards the right hip. Right foot can be in or outside the knee. Adjust myself here. And again, if you feel like your hip is coming off your block or off the floor when you take it around the knee, even if you can get there, but you feel like you're lifting and torquing your hips, then it would be better to keep your foot inside the knee. So we'll get ready to twist by starting with that inhale, inhaling to lengthen, exhaling, twisting this time to the right side. We might feel this different in the hips. So if one side is tighter, you're going to notice it in the twist. And just breathing into those spaces, making adjustments that you might need to, and letting go of any judgments. It can be really easy to judge ourselves and say, you know, something mean about why we're tight on one side. But instead of judging that part of the body or being mean to it, maybe offering a little bit of love and compassion and maybe saying, you know, I love you to your tight hips. Okay, just one or two more breaths right here. And that I love you can offer to any part of your body. It's not just your tight hips. It could be your belly, your low back. So now we're going to come forward and we'll first cross the left leg in front. We'll inhale tall. And I'm going to come off my block for this one, but you might stay on yours.
going to just walk the hands forward to any degree. So you might still be fairly upright. That might feel better to you, or you can walk those hands wherever feels good. Breathing into the back body. Again, breathing into those legs, the hips. Just noticing sensation. Not labeling or judging. Walk hands in, and we're going to switch the front leg once again. So we'll walk forward, and you might go further forward on one side. And when we notice those things, just kind of saying to ourselves, aha, you know, like, that's interesting. And we'll take one more breath right here. Walking hands back in, and we're getting ready to come on to our backs. So to do that, you always have the option of rolling to one side, using the hands to lower down, or we could do a little bit of core challenge as we bring hands either to the thighs, or we can have arms out in front and rounding the spine as if our spine's, you know, curving like a ball and coming down one vertebra at a time. So that could take some strength, and if that's too difficult, if that doesn't feel good to your low back, just rolling onto your back, rolling to one side, to the back. Bringing these in. This is always one of my favorites. Getting a little massage from the ground. Getting into the fascia on the back side of the body. We have fascia all throughout our bodies. And sometimes really simple things like this can help hydrate it. And we hear about foam rolling, or we can roll our feet with a tennis ball. This is a way to get the fascia from the lower back. So bringing our feet down to the floor. Pausing for a moment. And now we're going to bring the soles of our feet together, coming into reclined butterfly pose, or Supta Baddha Konasana. If you'd like, you can place a block under the outer thighs, providing a little bit of support. If you feel like you're shaking and baking here, shaking and quaking, put a block or a pillow beneath the thighs. If you'd like, it's a great place to close the eyes. As we allow a different type of opening to the hips here. A lot of times we do this pose seated. You might notice a difference in how this feels when we do it seated. You can stay right here, or you can come to any other pose that your body needs right now. So that might be an additional twist, maybe happy baby, or if there's another pose that your body is asking for. I'm actually going to reach for my block and come into supported legs up the wall, taking my block underneath my sacrum, and then lifting my feet towards the sky. This is a nice way to get an inversion into the practice, reversing the flow of blood and the lymph. This is one of my favorite poses to do after a hard workout, after a run, or even after a long day. It's so good to kind of flip the script with gravity all day long. Even if we're just sitting at our desk, our blood is flowing towards our legs, and this reverses. And then as you're ready, depending on what pose you chose, you might stay there for your Shavasana, or you might choose to come into a place of rest. So perhaps on your belly or your side, or you can come into a more traditional Shavasana with
Your legs extended, letting the feet flop out to the sides. Maybe bending the knees. Arms can be alongside the body with the palms face up, fingertips gently curling in. Allowing the awareness to shift inward once again. Letting the body, the mind, and the breath slow down. Feeling the weight of the shoulders sinking into the earth, feeling the weight of the whole body sinking into the earth as the earth rises up to hold you. Feel and see how the life force, the heartbeat of the universe, leads you on, guides you, takes you on the way. Yes, there are times when we need to march forward, muster up our willpower, and grind through the motions. But those times are transitory, and that's not the magical way we're living now. Even when we stop, doubt, wonder, get tired and confused, the universe is there to revitalize us, move us along our path, and lead the way. If you're tired, rest. If you're sad, cry. If you're thirsty, take a long, full drink of water. If you feel hopeless, feel that. But know it's just for the moment. If you feel confused, feel that. Feel it until clarity, desire, hope, and meaning break through. You don't have to judge or trudge your own willpower. Not any longer. You do not have to push your way through. Rest until you feel healed, then gently go forward. Let the universe assist you. Open your eyes, the eyes of your soul, and see where to go. Feel where to go. Sense what to do next. See how the magical power of the universe carries you along, even when you get tired, even when you get confused. You are connected to yourself, to the universal life force, to God. Quiet the chatter of your mind. Renew your body. Replenish your soul. Take in all the healing energy of the world around you. Then let the universe lead the way. Beginning to bring movement back to the body. Gently rolling to one side with the knees bent. Using the hands to help lift to an easy, comfortable seat. Bringing hands together at the heart. Closing our practice with the sound of one Om. And we'll exhale to prepare. And then inhaling. Om. The divine light within me honors the divine light within you. Namaste. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me today. Namaste.